Press record.
Hello, welcome to Pizza.
Anyway, Millennium Spork. What? The Millennium Spork? Fantastic. Okay, chapter 1, Enter the Idiots. The Kaiba Estate. Just outside Domino City. It was a dark and stormy night. Seto Kaiba awoke with an uneasy feeling that something was wrong besides the cliched weather. Something far more dangerous, or, at the very least, far more annoying, since it was disturbing his beauty sleep. Lying unmoving on the king-size bed, he peered through slitted eyelids at the darkened bedroom. Moonlight from a gap in the curtains gave just enough illumination for him to see the room clearly. The silver briefcase containing his spare Duel Monsters cards was on the floor beside the bed. His beloved Blue Eyes White Dragon and the rest of his deck were safely tucked into his own case, which was hidden beneath his pillow. Across the room, a dual disc Mark II lay atop an antique dresser. On the nightstand beside his bed lay the book, Sun Tzu, The Art of War, that he had been reading earlier. Satisfied that everything was as he left it, he closed his eyes and tried to force his body to relax, concentrating on every muscle group until the tension had eased, but sleep eluded him. His mind wandered and he found himself going over his work schedule. He contemplated the problem of what to get Mokuba for his birthday, then considered the even more pressing problem on how to put a several thousand years old ancient Egyptian pharaoh in his place. Finally, he found himself wondering what the fanfic writers were up to. That last one gave him pause. Why was he thinking about fanfic writers? As a rule, he tried not to. Frankly, some of them scared them. "You can say that again," mused a disturbingly familiar voice from uncomfortably close left ear. "Gah!" Seto flailed as he shot straight up and right off his bed. He tumbled to the floor with a loud and rather painful thud. Cursing, he untangled his legs from the covers and scrambled to his feet, falling instinctively into a fighting position stance. It was pretty impressive despite the silk pajamas, with the little Blue Eyes White Dragon embroidered on his pocket. "How the hell did you get in here?" he demanded, glaring at the figure lounging on his bed. In the dim moonlight, all he could make out was a slender silhouette of a man leaning against the headboard, long blades stretched out in front of him and crossed casual to his ankles. "That's complicated," the figure said, rising. Standing, he was easily as tall as Seto. In fact, Seto squinted. The intruder was exactly as tall as Seto. A terrible suspicion began to form in the back of his mind. Seto edged towards the bedside lamp. Already he was writing out mental pink slips for the security staff. What was he paying those clowns for if they allowed random psychos to wander unchallenged into his bedroom in the middle of the night? The only random psycho he was even remotely interested in allowing anywhere near himself was Yami Yugi. That particular random psycho Seto was willing to duel anytime, anywhere, even in his bedroom and in the middle of the night. Right. Why else keep his spare cards and duel this close at hand while he was asleep? Yes, Seto was obsessed. That was not news to anyone, least of all Seto. He would beat Yami and win back his title. It was the last thing he ever did. But that was all he was interested in from Yami, no matter what those crazy yaoi fickers insisted upon writing. Thank you, Mr. Fanfic Writer. Speaking of insane fanfic writers, this was almost as bad as the time security had let Mary Sue through the front gates. She had made it all the way to the front door of the mansion before the automated Mary Sue detection system, which Seto had forced to design in sheer self-defense, kicked in and dealt with the problem. Not even a Mary Sue could withstand a Blue Eyes neutron burst attack at point-blank range. Seto fumbled for the lamp switch, clicked on the light. As his eyes adjusted to the sudden brightness, found his second worst nightmare had come to life and was staring right in his own blue eyes. Well, shit, Seto groaned. Please tell me you're not a Yami." Oh no! Oh no, this intruder grinned. My name is Seto Kaiba. I'm your bad thick stand-in. It was even worse than he thought. Scowled, Seto reached for his deck. Across the town in Kami Game Shop. Thousands of miles away, Yugimoto woke from a sound sleep, or rather pleasant dream, informing himself Taya and industrially sized vat of strawberry whipped cream to the sound of someone crying. Correction, he thought grumpily as the noise ratcheted up several notches on the decibel and angst scale. Somebody sobbing his heart out. Sitting up, he fumbled for the bedside lamp, which, when the light came on, the sight that greeted his eyes was enough to make him wish it hadn't. Huddled by the floor by Yugi's desk was a small figure of a boy. The boy had messy, multicolored hair, torn clothes, and a familiar golden object hanging from a chain around his neck. He lifted his sweet round face for a moment. It was covered in bruises and wet with tears. The pitiful boy sniffled and buried his face in the crook of his folded arms, which rested on his drawn-up knees. He was the most pathetic creature Yugi had ever seen. And that included all the times he looked in the mirror to patch himself up after some bully had used him as a punching bag. Yugi frowned. He was missing the ending of his favorite Terria and whipped cream dream. For this? He did the only sensible thing he could do. He summoned up Yami to deal with the miserable little wretch, retreated to his sanctity of his own soul room, and went back to sleep. With any luck, he could get back to his dream in time for Mai to show up with the chocolate sauce. That was the end of chapter 1. Chapter 2. Fucking longer. Dance! Chapter 2. Dance of the Plot Device Fairy. Back at the Kaiba estate, Kaiba flinched as his counterpart reached unerringly for his duel monster's deck. He jumped from the bed and held both hands in surrender. There's no need for that. I come in peace. You can leave in peace, Seto growled. Ooh, Kaiba said. Somebody needs a hug. I did not just hear that. Seto closed his eyes and prayed for a miracle. Unfortunately, Kaiba was still there when he opened them again. Shut up and duel! What's the point? I know every card in your deck, and every move you're likely to make will only end in a draw. Seto growled wordlessly, but even he had to concede that Kaiba had a point. Besides, the ones on his impressive furry trench coat, fine. Just go back to whatever the hell you came from, and we call it even. Said Kaiba. There's a teensy problem with that, actually. He held out the Millennium Rod. Seto flinched. Oh, hell no. Instinctively, he fell back as the other advanced. You said you aren't a Yami. I'm not, Kaiba assured him. His faint smile blossomed in a full-fledged grin as he flung his arms around his horrified counterpart. You are! Oh, I'm so glad I found you at last, my Yami. Seto did the only sensible thing he could do. He fainted. The next morning at the Kami Game Shop, when Yugi woke up, Yami had not. Much to Yugi's disappointment, Mind crushed his annoying sloppy double. Instead, said double had been cleaned up, dried off, and installed at the kitchen table, where he was currently staring at a plate piled high with Yugi's favorite chocolate chip pancakes, as they were personally offended him, possibly by not being emo enough. As Yugi watched, depressed Yugi toyed with a bit of pancake at the end of his fork, stirred it around on the plate, making morose patterns in the syrup. Yugi found himself fighting the urge to smack himself. Well, not himself, the other Yugi, or rather, not the other Yugi, although frankly that was fairly tempting too. Yugi stopped, finding that he had confused himself, the actual himself and not the other self, or the other him sitting at the table, to the point of dizziness, and decided to stop thinking about it altogether. Good morning, Aibo, Yami greeted cheerfully. Oh, I'm sorry. Good morning, Aibo. Yugi greeted himself cheerily, running across the table to place more pancakes on top of the stack already on the other Yugi's plate. Yugi nearly tripped over his own feet. Since when had Yami ever been so cheerful? More to the point, since when did Yami have his own body? He looked suspiciously from beaming Yami to brooding Yugi and frowned. Okay, who are you, and what have you done with the real Pharaoh? I'm right here, Yami's voice in his head. Yugi jumped 3 feet in the air and glowed at the transparent form of his other self that appeared beside him. Don't do that! Do what? Never mind. Yugi stared at the scene before him. There were 2 Yamis, one see-through, the other solid, and the other Yugi still gazing despondently at his breakfast, which was rapidly putting the original Yugi off of his. Wait, just a card-playing minute, Yugi thought, slamming on his mental brakes so fast he left skid marks on his cerebellum. What was wrong with this picture, aside from the obvious? How did you 2 get separate bodies, he demanded, looking from solid Yami to emo Yugi with eyes that were even wider than normal. Oh, that. It's all thanks to the plot device, Fairy, chirped the disturbingly chipper Yami clone, with a disturbingly chipper grin. The what? A rather put-upon sigh issued from another somewhere behind Yugi. He spun around to find himself staring at Shoddy. Shoddy, aka plot device, Fairy nodded. Yes, I am afraid it is my fault. What is? What is it? Yami retorted. Unlike his more forgiving partner, the Pharaoh wasn't above holding a grudge and had a few thousand years more experience at doing so. Excuse me. He had an impressive list of things, of which he held Shoddy personally responsible, starting with Malik trying to kill him and ending with global warming. Yugi pointed out that Yami didn't even know what global warming was. Yami pointed out that he didn't care. He was certainly that. Whatever it was, the blame for it would be laid squarely on Shoddy's shoulders. Yugi smacked him angrily. Shut up! Shut up, he suggested, then turned back to Shoddy. What do you mean it's your fault? You see, said Shoddy, I accidentally hit him. He pointed to emo Yugi on the head with my Millennium Scale, and suddenly there were 2 of them. Yami looked thoughtful. You mean that it would take... Well, you mean that all it would take for me to have my own body would be for you to clout Yugi on the head? Yeah. Okay, hold on 1 second.